we are discussing the story A Horse and Two Goats, R.K. Narayan. It's the third part of the story, and I'll start with the extract from where we left in the part 2. The foreigner, the red faced foreigner, and Muni are talking with each other, and the other man, I focus on extract now. The other man interrupted him. I don't want to seem to have stopped here for nothing. I'll offer you a good price for this, he said, indicating the horse. He had concluded with the least doubt that the mud horse was being owned by money. Perhaps he guessed by the way by which money sat on the horse. Like other souvenir sellers in this country, presiding over their wares. Muni followed the man's eyes and pointing fingers, and he understood the matter dimly, and feeling relieved that at least for a time being the matter of mutilated body has been abandoned. He again said enthusiastically, I was this high when my grandfather told me about this horse, and my grandfather was this high when his grandfather told me about this horse. The Tamil that Muni spoke was fascinating, even as pure sound. The foreigner listened with fascination, and assuming the pleasantest expression, he said, Your language sounds wonderful. I got a kick out of every word you utter here. He said, but you don't have to waste your time to explain its point. I appreciate your article. Mani said, I never went to school. Only Brahmins went to school those days. We had to work morning till night in the fields. And from the sowing to the harvest season, we had to work. And when the Pongal came, we had to cut the harvest. My father allowed me to go out in the tank and play. So I don't know the Farangi language you speak. Even little fellows in your country probably speak the Farangi language. But here only learned men and officers know this language. The foreigner laughed heartedly, took out another cigarette and gave it to Mani, who now smoked with ease, deciding to stay if the fellow was going to be so good as to keep up the cigarette supply. The American now stood up to the pedestal in an attitude as a demonstrative lecturer and said, running his finger around the neck of the horse, where carved decoration were made, speaking slowly and uttering his words syllable by syllable, I could give up sales tax, sales stock for this better than anyone else. This is a marvelous combination of yellow and indigo, though faded now. How do you people in this country achieve these flaming colors? So this was the extract of the story of R.K. Narayan, where we were discussing. The point is that Mani is unaware of the English language and the foreigner do not understand the Tamil, but they both are appreciating each other. The foreigner said that I am not here for nothing. I'll offer you a good price for this horse. And he guessed that this horse is owned by money. How did he guess? By the way, Mani sat on the pedestal of the horse because he saw that the souvenir sellers in this country sit around their wares and they sell it. So he was thinking that he is here to sell his horse. So in this way, he understood that the horse is owned by Mani and he offered him a price. We have already discussed. Now when he pointed towards the horse and his eyes were on the horse, by this Mani understood that the point of discussion was not mutilated body. It has been abandoned. The point of discussion is horse. So he again started speaking that when I was this high, my father told me that when this horse was made. And when my grandfather was this high, his grandfather told me when this horse was made. But the foreigner could not understand anything in Tamil. So he listened to Tamil as a pure sound and said that I wish I had a tape recorder here. Your language sounds wonderful and it utters syllable by syllable. But you don't have to waste your time in sales talks. You don't have to explain the points that your horse is so good. It has impressed me enough. Now when the foreigner said this, Muni started saying something else. He said, I never went to school. Only Brahmins went to school in those days. We had to work morning till evening in the fields, from the sowing season to the harvest season. And when the Pongal came, my father allows me to go to the pond, tank, and where I play with my friends. So I never studied, so I do not know the Farangi language. I know in your country even the little chaps speak this Farangi language. But here, only learned people and officers know this language. I do not know this language. At this long oration, foreigner laughed heartedly and he took out one again cigarette and offered it to Mani. This time, Mani was rather comfortable than the first cigarette which was offered first time. So Mani took the cigarette and he decided to stay if the cigarette supply is so consistent. The American now stood up to the pedestal and he pointed towards the neck of the horse where there was some decoration, and he stood in the pedestal as a demonstrative lecturer and he said, I could give up the sales talk for this better than anyone else. Means this statue has pleased me so much that I don't want to bargain anything. I offered you a price. This is a marvelous combination of yellow and indigo colors, though faded now. So how do you people achieve this in this country? So in this way, they both knew that the point of discussion is not the mutilated body. The point of discussion is horse. Now we again focus on the text. Mani now assured that the subject matter was not the mutilated body. It was a horse. He said, this is our guardian. It means death to our adversaries. At the end of the Kali Yuga, this word and all other words will be destroyed, and the Redeemer will come in the shape of the horse called Kalki. This horse will come to life and gallop and trample down all bad men. While he was brooding in this vision, the foreigner utilized the pause to say, I assure you that this horse will have the best house in the USA. I push all my bookcase. You know I love books and I am a member of 5 book clubs. And the choice and a bonus volume piles up to a height of this horse. But they all have to go. Ruth may disapprove, but I'll convince. Mani continued his description at the end of the word. Our Pandit discoursed at the temple that how the oceans are going to close over the earth in a huge wave. and swallow it. This horse will grow bigger than the biggest wave and carry on its back only the good people and kick out in the flood the evil ones. Plenty of them, he said reflectively. Do you know when this is going to happen? So again, there is a misconnection. The foreigner is saying something, Mani is saying something. Mani is saying, by the second cigarette being offered, Mani was convinced that the subject matter is horse, not the dead body. So he goes on explaining the horse. He said that this horse is our guardian and he is a death to our adversaries, our enemies. And at the end of Kali Yuga, when the Kali Yuga will end, this word will come to an end and all other words will come to an end. And then the Redeemer, the Masiha will come in the form of a horse called Kalki. And he will gallop, he will run, and he will trample all bad men. He will crush all bad men. And he exhausted in the dream, explaining the end of the world. So he created a pause. The foreigner used this pause to explain himself. He said, don't worry, this horse will get a best house in the USA. I am a member of 5 book clubs, but they all bookshelves have to go back. Ruth may disapprove it, but I will convince her. Again, Mani goes on the description of the end of the world. He said, our Pandit had disclosed that how the oceans are going to grow in a huge wave and they will close the earth, and this horse will grow bigger than the biggest wave, and it will carry on its back only the good person, and it will kick all the bad men into the oceans. Plenty of them will be kicked. So he said reflectively, do you know when this is going to happen? So this was a discussion. Mani is saying about the end of the world, and the foreigner is saying that this statue will get a good place in my drawing room. So I'll create the place, I'll make a space by replacing the books, and Mani is explaining that this world will come to an end and this horse will be a redeemer. Now we again focus on the text. The foreigner now understood by the tone of the other that the question was being asked and said, I am not a millionaire, but a modest businessman. My trade is coffee. Amidst all wilderness and obscure sound, Mani caught the word coffee and said, if you want to drink coffee, drive further up in the next town. They have a Friday market and there may be a cafe hotels. So I learned from passers-by. The foreigner said, I repeat, I am not a millionaire. Ours is a modest business. After all, we can't afford to buy more than 60 minutes of a TV time in a month. That's 2 minutes a day. That's all. Although in the course of time, we may be able to sponsor a TV show of 1 hour regularly if our sales graph continues to grow up. Then the visitor, feeling that he has spent too much time already, he said, tell me, will you accept 100 rupees for this horse? I'd love to take the whiskered soldier also, but no space for this soldier this year. I have to cancel my air ticket and I will go by boat. Ruth can go by air if she likes, but I'll go with the horse and keep him in my cabin if necessary. And he smiled at the picture, voyaging himself across the seas, hugging the horse. He added, I have to pad this horse with a straw so that it doesn't break. I have my station wagon. As you see, I can push the seat back and take the horse in it. You have to just lend me a hand with it. lend me a hand and I can lift a horse from the pedestal after picking out the cement at the joints. So we can do anything if you have a basis of understanding. So at this juncture, the foreigner understood that something is being asked. So the foreigner said that my trade is coffee. I'm not a millionaire. I'm a modest businessman. Money heard the word coffee. He thought he's talking about coffee. He wants to drink coffee. So he said, you have to drive up to have coffee. There are coffee hotels. I have listened from the passers-by. Then foreigner again said that I am a modest businessman. I am not a millionaire. I have a coffee trade and we are average. Nowadays we can buy only 60 minutes of TV time. That's 2 minutes a day. But if our sales graph go up, then we may sponsor a TV show of 1 hour. We may grow rich in future, but now we are not so rich. He's trying to say, I cannot pay very much for this horse. So then the foreigner said, he thought that I have spent too much time. So he said, will you accept 100 rupees for this? I want to carry the whiskered soldier also, but this time no space for him, because in my room there is no space. Ruth may go by air, but I'll carry this horse and go by the ship. And I'll keep this in the cabin if required. And I'll put the straw to this horse. I have my station wagon also. And I can push the seat back and take this horse in that wagon if you just lend a hand to me. And if we have a basis of understanding, we can put this horse out from where it is cemented and put into the station wagon. So up till now, there is no point of communication between them. He is talking something else, he is talking something else. The foreigner is offered 100 rupees for the horse. And money still didn't got the point. The only point was this, he was thinking that the discussion of the matter was horse and the other word he got was coffee. Now we again come to the text, original text. At this state, the mutual mystification was complete, and there was no need to carry on a guessing game. At the meaning of the words, the old man chattered in a way of a spirit of balancing of credits and debits, of conversational exchange, and said in order to be in the credit side, O honorable one, I hope God must have blessed you with many progeny. You seems to be a good man, willing to stay beside an old man and talk to him, while all day I have none to talk with me, except when someone come and ask me for a tobacco. But I seldom have it. I have given up chewing. I cannot afford nowadays. Noting the interest in the other's speech, Mani felt encouraged to ask, how many children you have? With appropriate gestures with his hand. Realizing that the question is being raised, the foreigner replied, I said 100. Which encouraged Mani to go into the details. How many of your children are boys and girls? Where are they? How many girls you have? Is your daughter married? Is it difficult to find son-in-law in your country also? In answer to these questions, the red man dashed his hand into the pocket and brought forth his wallet in order to take the immediate advantage of the bearish trend in the market. He flourished a 100 rupee currency note and said, well, this is what I meant. The old man now realized that some financial element has entered into the talks. He peered closely at the currency note, the like of which he has never seen in his life. He knew fives and tens by their colors, although always in the other's hand, while his own earnings at some times were in coppers and nickels. What was this man flourishing the note for? Perhaps he is asking for a change. He laughed at himself at the notion of someone asking him a change of thousands or 10,000 rupees. So at this point, Mani was pleased, and he knew that he is guessing the words of foreigner, and foreigner was knowing he was guessing the words of Mani. So Mani tried to balance the situation, and he said, and he appreciated the American. He said that you seems to be a good man because you are liking to stay with an old man like me. No one comes to talk with me and stays here. If anyone comes, he comes just for the sake of tobacco, and I don't have tobacco. I have given up chewing the tobacco. So you like to talk with me. God must have gifted you many children. So how many children do you have? So the foreigner thought that he's asking a question. The foreigner said, I mean this, 100 rupees. I said 100. So, encouraged with this, Mani put on more questions. How many boys you have? How many girls you have? Are your girls married? Is it difficult to find son-in-law in your country also? With these questions, the foreigner thought that there is bearish trend in the market, that he will accept 100 rupees. So he take out a 100 rupees note from his pocket and said, this is what I meant. Now the old man realized that some financial element is entering in the talks. So he has seen the 5 rupees or 10 rupees note by the colors, but always in the other's hand. First time he's looking at that 100 rupees note. So he peered at the notes, although sometimes his earning was in coppers and nickels, but nowadays he's very poor. So he peered at the note, and he thought that this man is asking for a change. He's asking a change of 100 rupees from me. So he laughed at him, someone asking him a change of 1,000 rupees and 10,000 rupees, and he started laughing. So this was discussion up till here. Now we again focus on the text. He said with a grin, ask our village headman, who is a money lender. He can change even a lakh of rupee in gold sovereign, if you want in that. He thinks nobody knows, but dig the floor of his puja room, and your head will reel at the side of the hoard. The man disguises himself in the rags just to mislead the public. Talk to a headman yourself, because he goes mad at the sight of me. Someone took his pumpkins and the creeper, and he thinks it was me and my goats. That's why I never let my goats to see anywhere near his farms. His eyes travels to his goats, who are attempting to wrest nutrition from the minute greenery peeping out of the rock and dry earth. The foreigner followed his look, that he thought it would be a sound policy to show an interest in the old man's pet. So he showed every courteous attention. Now the truth dawned on the old man. His lifetime dream was realized. He understood that the red man was actually making an offer for his goats. He has reared them in the hope of selling them one day, and with that capital, opening a small shop in this very spot. Sitting here, watching towards the hills, he has often dreamed that he would put a thatched hut here, spreading a gunny sack, and over that he'll display the fried nut and sweets and green coconut for the thirsty and famished wayfarers on the highway, which was sometimes very busy. The animal was not prized once, but often he has spent his savings to provide some fancy diet for the animals. They do not look too bad. So these two paragraphs, after these two paragraphs, Mani understood that why he is offering the money. First he thought that he is offering the money for the exchange. So he said, I don't have money, I cannot exchange. You can go to the village headman. He is very rich. He rags himself to mislead public, but if you dig his puja room, your head will reel with his money. He can change you lakhs of rupees in sovereign, gold sovereign if you want in that. But I would not go there because he thinks that I have stolen his pumpkin and creepers and my goat have done this. So you just go and talk to him. And then he saw his goats who were taking nutrition from the grass in the direction he saw. So the American thought it would be a good policy to show the sympathy to his pets. So he went and showed every possible sympathy to the goats. Now Mani understood that he is offering 100 rupees for my goats. His lifetime dream is being realized because he always dreams to sell his goats. And he always dreams that with this money he'll open a shop at this point and he will have a thatched hut there. And he will spread a gunny over here, and in that he will spread sweets, and in that he will spread coconut, and he will look at the hills, and the people will come, feminist welfare on the highway, to which he will give them. And he has used his savings also sometimes to give the fancy diet to the goats, even though they were not priced in the cattle show, they were not sold even, but Mani thought they are not too bad. So now he understands what he is offering the money for. So this was the point. Now coming to text. While he was reflecting, the red man shook his hand and left on his palm a 100 rupees in tens. Suddenly realizing that this was the old man was asking, "Is it all for you, or you will share it with your partners also?" The old man pointed at the station wagon and asked, "Are you carrying them in that?" "Yes, of course," said the other, understanding the transportation part of it. The old man said, "This will be their first ride in the motor car. Carry them after I get out of the sight. Otherwise they will never follow you. They will follow me even if I go to the Yamlok." And he laughed himself on his joke, brought his palm together in the salute, and turned and went off. And soon he was outsighted beyond the clump of thicket. The red man looked at the goats. They were grazing near the statue, and the westerly sun touched the ancient faded color of the statue. He ruminated. He must be gone to ask someone's help, I suppose, and settled down to wait. But when a truck came downhill, he asked for help. He stopped it, and he get the help of the couple of men and detached it from the cement. And he gave everyone 5 rupees, and further he gave some rupee. They siphoned off the gas in his motor wagon, which helped him to start the engine. So when the foreigner took the 100 rupees in tens in the hands of Mani took that, and he understood that the deal has been done, and he said, "Do you carry them in the station wagon?" The foreigner said, "Yes." So he said, "When I go out of the sight, then carry goats, because they'll follow me even in the Yamlok." So he just walked away from there and got away from the clump of thicket. The red man thought that he has gone for someone's help, and when the truck came down the hill, he asked the help from some people, and with their help he took the statue to the station wagon, and then after that he paid some other money, so they siphoned the gas and helped him to start the engine. Mani hurried homeward with the cash securely tucked away in the waist in his dhoti. He shut the street door and stole up softly to his wife, and she squatted before the lit oven as if the food will fall from the sky. Mani showed his fortunes of the day. She snatched the note from him and counted in the glow of fire, and cried, 100 rupees. How did you come by it? Have you been stealing?" "I have sold my goats to a red-faced man. He was absolute crazy to have them. And he gave all the money, and he took the goats in a motor car." Hardly has he finished this word, he saw a bleating of goats outside the door. Wife said, "What's the meaning of this?" He muttered a great curse and seized the goat by his ears and shouted, "Where is that man? You are his. How did you come here?" He asked the same question to the other goat. The goat shook itself. The wife glared at him and declared, "If you have thieved, the police will come tonight and break your bones. Don't involve me. I will go to my parents." So Mani took this money to the wife, and there was no food in the house. She was lighting fire as if the food will fall from the sky, and Mani showed that he this is my fortune, I've got 100 rupees. So she snatched the notes and counted them, and she asked that, did you steal them? He said, no, I have sold the goats. And just he said, I have sold the goat, both the goats came bleeding outside the house. So the wife was sure that he has stolen something. So he got outside the door and asked to the goat, why are you here? You are not my property, you are the property of that red man. He asked the same question to the goat. Wife understood the whole matter, and she said that if you have stolen, the police will come tonight and it will break your bones. Don't involve me. I'll go to my parents. So in this way, the story ended. Mani got 100 rupees, and this was the story which I have explained para by para, and with giving the extract and with explaining it. If you read your book Treasure Trove after watching these videos, I hope you will understand the whole story in very depth. Thank you very much for watching.